Now, we have learned that the foundation of our entire experience is the ever-present, ever-available presence of God. This is not a truth to be saved for a sunny day, for a moment of quiet in a secluded place. No. The first thing we must realize is that the very moment of trouble, the very heart of the storm, is the precise moment for which this truth has been given to us. When the fires of human experience are raging, when the floods of fear and doubt threaten to overwhelm us, when the hurricane of world events seems to shatter all sense of peace, this is not the time to turn away from God, but the time to turn within, to that secret place of the Most High. You see, the world believes that a problem is a signal to engage in a great human struggle, to marshal all our resources of intellect and strength and willpower to fight it. But we have learned something different. We have learned that the problem itself is but a shadow, a suggestion, an appearance, and the only power it has is the power we give it by acknowledging it as a power separate from God. So, the time of the problem is the time to reach out, not to an external God in some distant heaven, but to the very heart of reality, to the divine presence that is the substance and the truth of our own being, here and now. And so we come to the heart of the message. There is one prayer. It is not a prayer of words, though words may sometimes lead us to its threshold. It is not a prayer of petition, of begging or pleading with a capricious deity. It is a prayer of recognition. It is a prayer of realization. And this prayer, when it is uttered from the depths of our being, has the power to instantly dissolve any problem. Not by attacking the problem, you understand, but by revealing its unreality in the light of the one and only presence. Now, this prayer centers on the realization of the Christ. And we must be very clear about this. We are not speaking of the man Jesus, wonderful and glorious as his demonstration was. We are speaking of the Spirit of God that animated him, the Spirit of God that is your own true identity and mine. The Christ is that gentle presence, that still, small voice that speaks in the midst of you. It is the rock of certainty upon which your being is founded. It defies all intellectual analysis. You cannot dissect it in a laboratory or capture its essence in a theological formula. It must be accepted intuitively. It must be felt. It must be known in the silence. This is the meaning of those great scriptural revelations. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. All things, not some things, not the easy things, all things. And the other, even more profound, I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Do you hear the surrender in that? It is the giving up of the little. I, the personal sense of I, that struggles and strives and fears and fails. It is the acknowledgement that my very life, my consciousness, my awareness, is the living Christ. This is not a theory. This is the very substance of your being. When you can turn within and feel this, not as an idea, but as a living reality, the problem, whatever its name or form, must dissolve. For how can a shadow remain when the light has been turned on? This Christ, this I am-ness of your being, is what the prophet Daniel foresaw, as the rock cut out without hands. And you remember, he saw a great image, representing the four temporal kingdoms that seem to rule human life. These are not ancient, forgotten empires. They are the very powers that appear to govern your experience and mine this very day. The first kingdom is the kingdom of matter, of the body. It speaks to us of disease, of weakness, of age, of limitation. It says, you are a physical body, subject to physical laws, to germs, to decay. The second kingdom is the kingdom of wealth, of money, of supply. It says, your security lies in your bank account, your job, your investments. Without these, you are lost. The third kingdom is the kingdom of time, of the calendar, of deadlines and pressures. It says, there is not enough time. You are a slave to the clock, to your schedule, to the relentless march of days. And the fourth kingdom, which in our modern age we see so clearly, is the kingdom of material forces, of atomic energy, of political powers, of all the vast external systems that seem to hold our fate in their hands. These are the four temporal kingdoms, and they seem so solid, so real, so powerful. They demand our obedience, our fear, our worship. We bow down to the kingdom of the body when we worry over every ache and pain. We bow down to the kingdom of wealth when we lie awake at night anxious over our finances. We bow down to the kingdom of time when we feel rushed and harried and overwhelmed. We bow down to the kingdom of external forces when we believe that world events or the actions of others can control our peace and our destiny. But the vision did not end with the image. The rock, cut without hands, struck the image on its feet and broke it to pieces, and the rock became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. This rock is the Christ. It is cut without hands because it is not a human creation. It is a divine impartation. It does not fight these kingdoms on their own level. It does not send you into battle against disease or debt or the clock. It simply reveals their nothingness. It subdues them, not by destroying the forms, but by stripping them of their power over you. Let me give you a simple analogy. Consider electricity. It is a tremendous power. Unharnessed in a lightning bolt, it is destructive, terrifying, a force of chaos. But understood, harnessed, brought through the proper circuitry, it becomes our servant. It gives us light. It powers our homes. It drives our industry. The destructive power is not in the electricity itself, but in our relationship to it, in our understanding of it. So it is with these temporal kingdoms. The germ is not the problem. It is the belief in a power apart from God that gives the germ its power. The lack of money is not the problem. It is the belief in a source of supply external to the infinite source within. The clock is not the problem. It is the belief that we are separate from the eternal now, which is the very consciousness of God. When the Christ, the rock of your own being, is realized, it strikes the image at its feet, at its foundation, which is your belief in it. And the image, the appearance of a power apart from God, crumbles into dust. The electricity is tamed. The germ is rendered harmless. The financial lack is seen as an illusion, and the right idea, the right activity, flows to you. The clock becomes your servant, and you find you have all the time you need to accomplish what is given you to do. The external forces of the world are seen as the passing show, and you abide in a peace that the world cannot give and cannot take away. The Christ makes these temporal kingdoms your servants. They no longer rule you. Now you may be asking, this is beautiful, Joel, but how? How do I achieve this contact? How do I pray this prayer of realization? The method is meditation. It is the practice of the presence. It is not a complicated thing, though it requires a certain discipline of the mind. It is the simple, persistent turning within to acknowledge, I and the Father are one. The place whereon I stand is holy ground. Christ in me, the hope of glory. Do not make the mistake of believing that you must have long, arduous hours of meditation to achieve this. That is the voice of the temporal kingdom of time, trying to discourage you. No, the secret is frequent. Short periods of stillness throughout the day take mastership of the clock. For just a minute or two, many times a day, close your eyes to the outer scene. Be still, be quiet. Do not try to think. Do not try to formulate a prayer. Simply become receptive. Acknowledge the presence. You might silently say, Thou art here. Or, I am the place where God shines forth. Or simply, peace. Be still. Let the world and its problems recede. They will be there when you open your eyes, but you will be different. You will have touched the rock. You will have drunk from the living water. And as you do this, day after day, something miraculous begins to happen. You develop what we call an inner hearing and an inner seeing. You begin to hear the still, small voice, not with your physical ear, but with your spiritual discernment. It may come as a sudden knowing, a gentle nudge, a feeling of certainty. And you begin to see through the appearance, to see the spiritual reality where the problems seem to be. You see the harmony where there was discord, the wholeness where there was disease, the abundance where there was lack. This does not come all at once for most of us. It is an unfoldment. I remember on my own journey, there was a specific lesson I was struggling to grasp. I worked with it, meditated on it, and it took me 8 months before the light broke through. 8 months. But when it did, it was permanent. It was mine. So I encourage you, be persistent. Do not be discouraged if you do not see immediate, dramatic results in the outer world. The real work is taking place within your consciousness. And as your consciousness changes, so must your world change. It is a spiritual law. So we see that the one prayer that instantly dissolves any problem is the prayer of realized oneness with the Christ. It is the moment when you know, in the very core of your being, that I am not this body that aches. I am the perfect spiritual idea of God. I am not this limited human mind worrying about money. I am the very expression of the infinite source, and my supply is now made manifest. I am not a victim of time. I am an individualization of eternity, and I have all the time I need to fulfill my purpose. This knowing is the rock that smashes the image of the problem. And this leads us to the ultimate goal. It is dominion. Dominion over every aspect of our human experience. This includes what the world calls the final enemy, the transition we call death. But we come to understand that there is no death for the Christ, being that you are. There is only a progression, a moving from one state of consciousness to another, a laying down of the limited concept for a fuller and freer expression of life. So, I want to leave you with a deep sense of reassurance. There is no hurry on this path. Do not be anxious. Do not feel you are behind. Spiritual maturity is what counts, not longevity or the preservation of a youthful appearance. The years do not matter. What matters is the depth of your realization, the sincerity of your desire to know God. There is no extinction. There is only endless, glorious progression into higher and higher realms of light and love and understanding. You are safe. You are held in the everlasting arms. No problem, no situation, no appearance, no power of earth or hell can separate you from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus, your own true self. So rest in this. Be still and know. Let us just be quiet together for a moment and feel this truth. And in this quietness, you see, the miracle occurs. It is not a miracle of something being added from the outside, but a miracle of something being recognized from within. The scales fall from our eyes. The din of the world fades from our ears, and what is left is the great, pulsing, vibrant silence. This silence is not an emptiness. It is a fullness. It is the substance of all things. It is the very activity of God, of spirit, of life, of love. And in this moment, you are not a person praying to God. You are the very activity of God, being what God is. This is the great transition in consciousness that we work toward. It is the shift from being an effect of the world to being the cause in the world. Not a personal cause, you understand, but the instrument through which the divine cause flows. When you arise from this silence, you carry something of it with you. It is an atmosphere. It is a grace. And you will find that the world responds to this atmosphere. The people you meet, the situations you encounter, they cannot help but respond to the Christ light that you are now consciously bearing. They may not understand it intellectually. They may not even be aware of what is happening, but they will feel the peace. They will feel the love. They are touching the rock, even if they do not know its name. Now, you may ask, what of the problems that return? What of the days when the mind is noisy and the silence seems far away? This, too, is part of the journey. Do not condemn yourself. Do not feel you have failed. The sun is still shining even on the cloudiest day. Your unity with God has not been severed because you experienced a moment of fear or doubt. It cannot be severed. It is your eternal state. The practice, then, is one of gentle, persistent return. Like a musician returning to his scales, or a dancer to her basic steps, we return again and again to the truth of our being. I am He. Thou art here. I am the place where God shines forth. Let me share with you a little more about this inner hearing. It is the most natural thing in the world. yet we have been trained out of it by the outer world's clamor. This inner voice does not usually come as an audible sound. It comes as a spontaneous knowing. It is an intuition that flashes into your mind, complete and whole. It is the peace, be still, that calms the storm of your own thoughts. It is the sudden, clear direction when you have been lost in confusion. It is the feeling of love that washes over you for someone you thought you could not forgive. This is the comforter that was promised. This is the spirit of truth that guides you into all truth, and it guides you from within your own being. You do not need to go to any mountain or to any temple outside of yourself. The Holy of Holies is within the sanctuary of your own consciousness. When you are faced with a decision, big or small, do not rush to the phone to call a human advisor. First, go within. Be still. Present the situation, not with a demand for a specific answer, but with a simple, "What is the truth here?" Then let it go. Release it into the divine mind, and wait. The answer will come. It may not come in the moment of your meditation. It may come while you are washing the dishes or walking in the park. But it will come. It will be a thought that carries with it a sense of rightness, a sense of peace. This is how you are led. This is how you live a guided life. And what of the inner seeing? This is the faculty that perceives the spiritual reality behind the material appearance. When you look at a tree, you see with the inner eye not just the bark and the leaves, but the living, pulsing idea of tree that God is knowing. You see its beauty, its life, its purpose. When you look at a person who is angry or sick, you learn to see through the appearance of anger or disease to the perfect Christ, being that is their true identity. You behold the spiritual man, the Son of God, untouched by the distortions of human thought. You do not deny the appearance, but you deny it power and reality. You see it for what it is, a shadow cast upon the screen of human belief. And you hold to the light. You hold to the truth. And as you do this, you become a transparency through which the healing, harmonizing power of God can flow into that situation. You are not doing the healing. You are being the consciousness in which the truth appears, and the error, having no reality to sustain it, vanishes of its own nothingness. This is the practical application of our truth. It is not a retreat from the world. It is a redeeming of the world. You are here to be the light. You are here to be the leaven that leavens the whole lump. And this happens not through proselytizing or through force, but through this quiet, powerful work of consciousness. As you embody this truth, you lift the consciousness of the entire human race in some small but definite way. Your peace contributes to the world's peace. Your harmony contributes to the world's harmony. Your realization of abundance helps reveal abundance for all. So, you see, this work is never selfish. It cannot be. For as you come to know your own self, you realize that your self is one with all selves. There is only one I am. And as you bless your own life, you are blessing all life. As you realize your freedom from the temporal kingdoms, you are helping to shatter the chains that bind all mankind. This is the glorious destiny that is unfolding within you. It is the journey from the concept of being a mortal, living a frail human life, to the realization of being the immortal Christ, living as God in expression, here and now. There is no higher calling. There is no greater joy. So, go in peace. Not my peace, but the peace of God which passes all human understanding. And let that peace, the very presence of the Christ, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge and love of God.